Hello, friends and bees and friends who are also bees, and welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week we are going to be continuing our playthrough of Higurashi When They Cry. I'm very sorry for the delay in getting started. My computer was having a heart attack, as it so often does. Please, Steam, just let me open the video game. Ugh, I'm so tired and I'm so warm. But today we are going to be starting chapter 11, which is Tsukiotoshi, which is sort of a retelling of Higurashi and Mayakashi, as far as I can tell. So I'm excited to see how that goes. I am just going to try my hardest to start this funny video game, because Steam hates me, apparently, and every day I must suffer. Oh, is it open? There we go. Finally. Right, let's over to the gameplay, shall we? Oh, and joy of joys. My commands actually going as I tell them to. So let us hop straight into Tsukiotoshi. I am not going to be doing the I'm doing these in the prescribed order by 07th mod, which means Tsukiotoshi, then Yoigoshi, followed by Police Case File, and then we'll do the alternate arc, which is Mochi, Kagoshi, Tokigohoshi, Connecting Fragments, the rest of the police files, and then Miyatsukushi. I haven't decided yet whether I want to do PS2 or whether Omote and Ura will cover all of it by themselves. But for now, let's hop straight into Tsukiotoshi. Chapter is an alternate take on Higurashi, can be read after the completion of Chapter 5. Keiichi and friends work together to help Satoko after her uncle returns to Hinamizawa once again. They strove to live a life full of happiness. They were supposed to be bound by trust and mutual understanding. Kindness, compassion, trust, affection. When those feelings are turned inside out, white transforms to black. Their fragile bonds collapse and an unimaginable nightmare emerges from the darkness in their hearts. I really hated Higurashi in the sense of it made me cringe as a story. There was no reason for everyone to feel such hatred, but a little misunderstanding changed everything. Committing a crime isn't scary. The scary thing is admitting it. Being punished isn't scary. The scary thing is knowing the pain of it. Neither crime nor punishment will disappear from this world, because humans are unable to know the future. It's true. I'm going to be sniffy all throughout the stream, because spring has sprung, and I guess being in a new place means it's time for allergies. How many days has this gone on? Satoko's seat was empty again today. As we sat near Satoko's seat, but we couldn't help but look in its direction. Just need to make sure my bot is alive. Good, there they are. Nevertheless, we all implicitly continued carrying on like everything was normal. Of course it's no big deal. I'm sure she just has a cold. Satoko will return tomorrow and show us her usual innocent smile. Yet, I couldn't help but feel a lingering unease pooling in the bottom of my heart. Something was going on with Satoko. There was no doubt about it. In that case, sitting idly by with our hands behind our backs won't accomplish anything, right? Everyone else is probably thinking the same thing, looking down at Satoko's empty seat and sighing profusely. This stagnant atmosphere was becoming unbearable. Is Satoko absent again today? Rika bit her lip and turned her eyes downwards as she nodded to me, a response she'd already repeated several times now. Rika, if you know something, tell me. What's going on with Satoko right now? What on earth is causing her to keep missing school? Well, at this point it can't be helped. Can't be helped? Those words seem to negate the past, the present, and the future. All of it. More than anything, I was amazed to hear those words straight from the mouth of Rika, who was closer to Satoko than anyone else. Can't be helped? What do you mean by that? Rika remained silent and avoided answering my question. Rika was definitely taking this the hardest. Deep down, I understood that. But with all the blood rushing through my head, calm, rational decision-making was no longer possible. Tell me what's going on. Until I hear that, I can't accept this. Rika, you know something, don't you? You do. As my words grew more piercing, Rika's shoulders tensed up as though in fear. Still, she wouldn't look me in the eyes. With a look like she was giving up, she closed her mouth. I quickly dialed back the pressure and regained my composure, with an ache in my chest. I'm sorry, Rika. I got carried away. I apologised sincerely. I wasn't alone here. Rika felt the same way. Thinking about it that way, I couldn't help but feel embarrassed and apologise once more. Keiichi, you did nothing wrong. There's no need to apologise. Rika briefly shook her head, then looked down with a shadow hanging over her eyes. Once again, the classroom was enveloped in deep silence. Because the person who was supposed to be here wasn't here, everyone was upset by Satoko's sudden, inexplicable absence. I surprised myself to realise how much Satoko's absence had shaken my heart. And then it inevitably reminded me of how helpless I am, how insignificant. I'm just a common student, a powerless kid. Could it be? Suddenly, the silence was broken. Reina's eyes were open wide, like she'd just thought of something. Did Satoko's uncle come back? Uncle? After that one unexpected word, Rika looked down and her shoulders began to tremble. Nevertheless, Reina moved in closer and crouched down to look her in the eyes. I recognised that she was doing this gesture to alleviate Rika's tension. Satoko's uncle has returned, hasn't he? Hasn't he? But Rika remained silent, neither confirming nor denying anything. When Reina noticed that reaction, she barely managed to give Rika a smile, but there was still a precarious light in her eyes. Bear with me 2 seconds. Someone was doing some sort of building work outside last night, so I closed my window because it was really loud, and it only just struck me that if I opened my window, perhaps my room would be less warm. More at 10. Precarious light in her eyes. Reina, what does that mean? What's this about her uncle? Reina quietly looked back towards Rika. Nevertheless, she remained silent. Pardon me. When Reina saw that reaction, she looked down and quietly began to speak. It's been 3 years now. After Satoko's parents passed away in an accident, her aunt and uncle became her legal guardians, and then they moved into Satoko's house. It was an incredible story, far beyond anything I could imagine. Satoko's aunt and uncle became her guardians and took over her house at the same time. Satoko and Satoshi were relegated to a tiny room and forced to spend their days in terrible living conditions. Their aunt and uncle could never stop arguing with each other, and they would often vent their frustrations by taking it out on Satoko. What form did that take? Reina went quiet, so I was left to my own imagination. So Satoko was cornered, both physically and mentally. However, her aunt was murdered and Satoshi went missing last year on the night of Higurashi. Satoko's uncle fled the town immediately afterwards, fearing the Curse of Ayasha. Though Satoko has been feeling lonely ever since, living a peaceful life with Rika has helped her heal those wounds. However, coming back now like it's no big deal. That man. Honestly, Tepe Hojo is a savage brute. Sucking up to the powerful while terrorising the feeble. Just thinking about him disgusts me. Those harsh words didn't sound like Reina. Satoko's uncle must have been truly horrendous. I'm sure he hasn't changed. He's taking advantage of Satoko, even now. Everything you're telling me, is it all true? If that's the case, we need to help her right away. We can't let this happen to Satoko. I know, but it's not that simple, right? Neil? After saying that, Reina looked back with a look of disgust on her face. Mion had been standing there silently the whole time. She fumbled to maintain her composure after suddenly hearing her name. Anything we try would be useless. You feel the same way, don't you? Mion? I wouldn't go quite that far, but the situation isn't so simple. The situation isn't so simple? I didn't understand what she was getting at, so I began to open my mouth, but just then, Raina cut in with an explanation. The same thing happened last year. Everyone appealed to the Child Consultation Centre at Okonomiya and told them that Satoko's aunt and uncle were mistreating her. But, unfortunately, Satoko herself told them that nothing was going on, so the issue was never addressed. On the contrary, the two of them suffered even more harassment afterwards. The previous intervention only resulted in even more cruelty. Indeed, if that was how it happened, I could understand why they were hesitant to step in again. Then what? What else can we do? After all our struggling, we couldn't change anything. So depressing. But Satoshi tried to change things. After that one word from Reina, silence once again swallowed the classroom. Then all at once, everyone turned to her. Holding their breath, they gazed at her like she had violated a sacred rule. Because Satoshi... Reina's words were interrupted by the sound of a fist violently slamming down on her desk. I told you before, stop talking about that. Reina and Mion were the best of friends, but the two of them were staring each other down in a fit of rage. How strange. Something, no, everything seems completely out of place here, like a scene from another world. Until now, I believed that we were all the best of friends. Ordinarily, Mion would be the one taking the initiative, with Reina being supportive. But now, the scene before my eyes felt completely the opposite. Oh my god, so many hiccups. Opposite. Completely the opposite. What on earth? Feels like the gears are out of alignment. I've never seen this before, and I never thought I'd see them act this way. It filled my heart with disappointment and unease. Even so, this was no time to hold back. This was a serious problem, and it would only get worse. Okay, so there are 16 chapters, so we'll try and get through the first 8, which I will have to guess. But we'll see. This argument doesn't matter right now. We need to think of a way to help Satoko somehow. But how? You failed once before. We're just kids, Keiichi. What can we do? Even for us, there must be something we can do. If we all put our minds to it, I'm sure. Though I said that, I couldn't think of anything concrete. Reina said that they appealed to the Child Consultation Centre last year, but the centre decided that the family problem should be settled within the family. 80s, eh? So, in the end, nothing came of it. Total strangers are really limited on what they can do for us. In fact, there was a possibility that meaningless self-righteous behaviour would only exacerbate Satoko's suffering. In that case, instead of appealing to the Child Consultation Centre, it would be more effective for us to do something else for Satoko. But that's right. There was an organisation more powerful than the CCC, a single group capable of wielding all the power in Hinamizawa. Yes, the Samazaki family. Surely something could be accomplished by harnessing the power of the 3 families leading the village. Mion, you're next in line to lead the Samazaki family, right? So ask some influential people to help Satoko. What are you talking about, Keiichi? Even if I'm the future head of the family, I can't do something like that so easily. Why not? Doesn't the Samazaki family have representatives in government offices? Shouldn't it be easy to help a single person like Satoko? Because impossible means impossible. Don't waste my time saying something so absurd. Mion's words left me utterly helpless, as if she was completely dismissing me. Her cold attitude only made me feel more uncomfortable. Impossible? Absurd? How can she decide that right from the beginning? Besides, at times like this, isn't Mion usually the one to push us forward? Mion, after what you said just now, whose side are you even on here? His side? If you made the first move, wouldn't the 3 families support you? Wouldn't Hinamizawa stand together to protect someone from the village? Mion wore a grim expression as she let out a hoarse moan. Yeah, I understand. It's frustrating to be on the receiving end of a tirade like that, isn't it? But that submissive attitude touched a nerve, so I pushed even harder. We can't stay quiet on this. Satoko is truly suffering. But Satoko herself refused help last time. She denied it, you know. For obvious reasons, as we can see. If it feels like we're like speed running through the discussion here, it's because we are. It was actually the Tsumi Horoboshi that was the answer arc, but I guess this includes like bits of Tsumi Horoboshi, or it seems like. No, it's being played after Meikashi, so I guess it's like an alternative answer arc to Higurashi almost, perhaps. Even if we choose to help, it'll only be a repeat of last time. We can't repeat the same mistakes, but we have to do something. As things are now, Satoko is in real danger. Is there anything we can do to persuade Satoko? Look, that's not our decision to make. Everyone has their own opinions and points of view. Keiichi, do you understand how serious this is? This will have an impact on a person's entire life. You're the one I don't understand, Mion. Well, I agree with you there, Keiichi Maebara. Mion suddenly looked up. She looked straight into my eyes, like she was staring down an enemy. Ha! Honestly, Keiichi, do you just enjoy parading about like a hero? And Reina, the kind-hearted magician? Ha ha! Idiots. You're all acting like hypocrites. It's an awful thing to say, Mion. Awful? If I'm inhuman, then you guys are lower than human. Sing whatever you like, stirring up trouble. Shouting, Sonozaki, Sonozaki, anytime something happens. You think the Sonozakis are magicians? Gods? You make demands of me, but you're not willing to dirty your own hands over this, are you? Don't preach to me about cowardice. You just rely on the Sonozaki name whenever it's convenient for you. That's it, I've had enough. Neil? Suddenly, the classroom door slid open. Shion was standing at the doorway. Her face looked pale and she seemed physically exhausted, for some reason, all that murdering she was doing last time. Inhuman? That's not quite it. That's not enough for her, because Sis is a demon, isn't she? All the way from her head to her toes, in every drop of her blood. Shion? What are you doing here? Slam. Shion violently slammed the door, then threw a glare in Mion's direction. I've spoken with Sis about Satoko's situation. I've thought about it, but it all seems useless. Did you know that Satoko's parents were strong proponents of the dam project? Something like that, yeah. At the time, almost everyone other than the Hojo family was strongly opposed to the dam, because they all had money, bitches. As far as they're concerned, the Hojos are just traitors, especially in the eyes of the Sonozaki family. The Hojo family had the entire town against them. It was a minor feud at first, but things gradually escalated, gradually transformed into people treating them coldly or outright ignoring them. And even now, the circumstances haven't changed. So the people of Hinamizawa won't stand up for a member of the Hojo family. Of course, that goes for Satoko too, right? And the Sonozaki family would be the most opposed, wouldn't they? But Satoko's parents were the ones who supported the dam, right? If that's the case, none of that should apply to Satoko, especially given that she'd have been, like, a toddler back then. Like, she's Rita's age, she would have been very baby. However, Shion only responded to my rebuttal with a commiserating smile. Then, this is Hinamizawa. That one sentence dismissed my ideals as a shallow construct, and nothing more than an empty fantasy. Yes, this is Hinamizawa. Everything I've come to believe as common sense doesn't apply here. This village has a power strong enough to make the entire village believe crows are white from the bottom of their hearts. In other words, if the Sonozaki family refuses to alter their position, nothing will change. I've tried negotiating with the head of the Sonozaki family myself, but it's completely useless. That hag simply refuses to listen to anyone. After those harsh words, Shion laughed helplessly. Even so, I could gather from her exhausted expression that she did her best and fought for as long as she could. She was always fighting in secret, all on her own, never complaining to anyone, sometimes committing murder. I felt ashamed and anxious about my inability to do anything. Did you come all this way here just to say that? Thanks a lot, Shion. You're always turning your eyes the other way, sis. That's why I have to say something. Is that all you have to say? Then you should hurry up and head home, Shion. There's no place for you here. Honestly, sis, you're such a chicken. You can't say anything without Granny's permission. You're a coward who can't do anything. Siblings, eh? Shion, that was uncalled for. How can you say that to me? Then, Neon clenched her fists as she scared Shion down. Between the two of them, I'm honestly more scared of Shion because she's the one of the two of them that, like, snapped. Neon has, like, done tortures, but, like, she doesn't seem to enjoy it. And I'm relatively certain that in, what's the name, my brain is empty, relatively certain that in Higurashi it was actually Shion who committed all the murders and not Neon. Even without the confusion of Ayakashi to mess things up. You can't say you've forgotten, Shion. The way I felt all this time. Shion, you know. I don't know what you're talking about. Because I'm not you, Neon. I'm Shion, the one who was cast aside. Shion, you... But I can say only this. If I was in your position, I wouldn't stay silent. I'd never look away and pretend I knew nothing about my friend's suffering. Shion? You're the next head of the family? How absurd. You have tremendous influence, not only in the Sonozaki family, but across all of Hinamizawa, and yet you still do nothing. You're nothing but a figurehead in your position. Shion's scathing remarks left Neon speechless. I've not seen that angry face on Shion before. And as I listened to Shion's attacks, I felt criticisms were probably valid. Oh, we love to see in the first scene a wedge getting driven between our friends. What's that? You have nothing to say? Maybe you're crying about it? Serve you right, sis. The next head of the Sonozaki family is this feeble, whimpering coward. Shion's dry laughter echoed throughout the classroom. I guess nobody else is here? Everyone fell silent after that display of blind force. Then, after looking around the classroom, she continued venting her frustrations. Or everyone else is like gathered in a corner like, we'll just let the two argue it out. Right, that's right. That's it. Keep acting like it's someone else's problem. So pretend to sympathise and continue being a hypocrite. Fake everything. Because it's all an act to you, isn't it? You can't keep that up forever. You can keep that up forever. Just say something sympathetic and offer a prayer to ease your conscience. After saying that in a gruff voice, Shion decided she didn't want to waste any more time and began to make her way out of the classroom. Ouch. Keiichi? I'd immediately tried to stop her, so I stretched my hand out towards her shoulder, but she suddenly turned back and my hand made contact with Shion's cheek. The combination of movements caused my hand to slap her. How terrible. My bad. Are you okay? Can't believe you're taking her side. After saying that, Shion brushed out of the room without waiting for a response. Wait, Shion, don't get the wrong idea. I rushed out after her. Then, I moved in front of Shion and stretched my hands out to block her path. Shion lightly clicked her tongue, then changed directions and opened up the window. She then placed her hand on the window frame and jumped into the yard outside. Hey, Shion. I jumped out the window to chase after her. Shion continued desperately trying to run away. Then crossing the schoolyard at incredible speed, we both made our way towards the school gate. Stop following me. I don't want someone like you around. Look, just hold up. Please, just listen to me for a second. Even if I listen, it's all pointless. Keiichi, you're just like sis. I'm going to help Satoka. I'm not sure what I can do, but I absolutely will help her. God, I've got a fucking headache. Stream might be shorter than planned because of said headache, but we'll see. You can say that, but it's all just an empty promise. That's how you feel, from the bottom of your heart? Ha! It's not an empty promise. You want to see my heart? I'll tear it out right here in front of you. After that declaration, Shion finally began to slow down. Sensing the opportunity, I desperately pumped my arms and kicked my feet. Then, I somehow managed to catch up and reached out to grab Shion's right hand. After that move, she finally came to a halt. Keiichi, do you really mean what you said just now? Shion's voice was hoarse from heavy breathing. I silently responded with a forceful nod. Then, please, show me. Huh? Your heart. Show me your heart, Keiichi. Well, couldn't believe my ears. I thought she was joking for a moment there, but then Shion turned to me with cold eyes and a blank expression. You mean that seriously? Just as I thought, an empty promise. You're wrong. I was trying to tell you that I'm serious about this and I am. Everybody always makes meaningless, empty promises. If all you can do is lie, it'd be better for you to never say anything at all. After glaring at me with hatred in her eyes, Shion quickly turned her back and headed out the school gate. Seeing her from behind, it was a clear refusal. I had nothing left to say to her, so I couldn't do anything to stop her. But as I surveyed my surroundings, I noticed something from a distance. Was I unprepared? Were my words nothing but lies? Are you going to accept that, Keiichi Maebara? No excuses. I'm genuinely concerned about Satoko. I'll do anything to help her. Then, in that case... Hey, Shion. Huh? Sorry. Oh shit, clicking all the wrong things. I firmly clenched my fist, then dashed over to that something I noticed on the ground by the storehouse. Shion turned back with a look of astonishment. She couldn't comprehend my sudden behaviour. I picked it up. A large pair of gardening shears. Then I took a deep breath and held the blades over my chest. The two dark blades were quite dull and covered in rust. Christ alive, Keiichi. And they really glistened in the bright sunlight. Keiichi, what do you think you're doing? Hold on, what are you about to do? Please, stop choking around. I recognised this was particularly unorthodox behaviour, but right now it seemed like the only way to get through to her. I looked down and slowly pressed the blade against my chest. Only my body could prove what the mind had decided. My knees were trembling and the skin touching the tip of the blade was burning hot. I could see an image of Satoko flash before my eyes. I clenched the handles of the shears with my fingers, put all my strength into them. Please stop this nonsense. You don't have to do this, really. I'm gonna get pissed if you're showing off over a joke. I don't plan on dying. I'll be damned if I die right now. There's no way I'll give up and die while Satoko's suffering. Then why? You're not making any sense, Keiichi. You wanted to see my heart, right? I won't die from the wind like that. I have to help Satoko, so I can't die. I opened my eyes for a moment. Shion was trembling as she gazed at me in disbelief. Look. After saying that, I clenched the handle tighter and pressed the blade with more force. But suddenly, the blade completely stopped moving. When I opened my eyes, I saw Shion standing beside me, tightly grasping the blade of the shears. Shion. The sky was clear and blue. Only the sound of our tortured breath echoed through the area. Eventually, Shion lifted her head and stared straight into my eyes. I understand. I believe you, Keiichi. I believe in your feelings for Satoko. Right. There's no need to fight this alone. Let's do this together, Shion. All right. Shion murmured that in a hoarse voice and nodded several times. I believe you, Keiichi. I believe you too, Shion. Let's do our best together. All right. But I never forgive you if you pull a stunt like this again, got it? Shion relaxed her expression after saying that, then she flicked me in the forehead. Ow. Consider that your punishment for making that threat. Then we smiled to each other. It felt like an exchange as comrades in arms. Before I realised it, the noisy cry of the cicadas was replaced by the cool cry of the Higurashi. Were they encouraging us to charge boldly into the battlefield despite our inferior numbers? Or maybe they were laughing at the futility of our struggle. I guess this must have taken place after class and like club activity hours, seeing as that probably didn't take all day. Wait, I am the sleep boy. Time to do and save. Shion and I decided that the best way to handle Satoko's situation was appeal to the adults close to us, so we headed to the teacher's lounge. Oh, what's wrong, Nobara? And you're here with the class representative too? Is there a problem? Right after Miss Chie said that, Shion immediately cut in. I'm sorry, but I'm actually not Mion. I'm her sister, Shion. Oh, is that so? Miss Chie was unable to hide her confusion. Her reaction wasn't unreasonable. Even I had my doubts about Shion's existence for a while. You're both so similar, so I'm afraid I was mistaken. However, Shion pressed forward with no regard for Miss Chie's responses. There's something you need to hear. We have a dire situation, and there's no time to lose. When she saw the passion in Shion's eyes, Miss Chie immediately sat upright. Satoko Hojo is having major problems living with her uncle, Teppei Hojo. You seem quite serious about this. Do you have any evidence to support the allegation? Teacher, I'm sure you've noticed that Satoko has been absent for a while now. Do you know why? It's because she's been sick, or that's what I've been told. I've received proper reports from her guardian saying as much. Is that man her guardian? Is that really what you're telling me? With Shion unwilling to shake her antagonistic demeanour, Miss Chie continued explaining her reasoning. I'm aware that rumours have been going around. That's why I believe the best course of action at the moment is to calmly assess the situation. Well then, does that mean you're going to leave Satoko like this without doing anything about it? No. First off, I'm going to head to Ms. Hojo's house and speak frankly with him, Mr. Hojo's house, speak frankly with him about the situation. He's just going to pretend to be a proper guardian, like always. Shion, calm down. Let's listen to teacher for now. We were getting carried away by a childlike notion of justice. Emotions alone won't help Satoko. Quite the opposite. This is the time when realistic support is necessary. Besides, now that Miss Chie is involved, maybe it will move things forward a little. Teacher, you're not the sort of person to dismiss concerns so lightly. I believe you're giving Satoko's situation proper consideration. Right, teacher? That's right. I'm not about to let some man get in the way. It's my responsibility as a teacher to think about the future of my adorable students. Shion finally started to smile and relax her shoulders. I understand. If I notice any real problems, even something minor, I'm willing to take decisive action. Shion dubiously frowned. Miss Chie put a hand on her shoulder to try and calm her. Sometimes it's important to depend on others and to believe in them. I think it takes courage to do that. We can believe in you, teacher? Have I ever lied to you? I gently shook my head. We hadn't known each other for very long, but it seemed long enough. I thought so anyway. And then we found out that Miss Chie was hiding a dark secret other than her love for curry. Please, let me handle this. Mibara, and you too, Shion. Don't worry about this. Miss Chie pounded her chest as she said that, as if to say, I'll take care of everything. Though I was convinced by Miss Chie's words at first, after witnessing the cool response of the adults, we couldn't hide our disappointment. Proper adults have developed skill at hiding their true intentions, so we can't leave everything to the adults here. We need to do something for Satoko, with our own hands. Unable to stand idly by any longer, Shion and I set a course towards the Hojo house, where we'd find Satoko. Burning frustration filled my mind. I couldn't think about anything else. I moved forward like a robot, mechanically repeating the motions necessary to move my legs, driving myself forward. What am I going to do when I meet Satoko? I have no plans, no ideas. Am I just going to grab her hand and run away? Acting like a hero. In a sense, Mion may have been right about that. She is. I know a happy ending where Ross justice prevails and we all live happily ever after won't be waiting for us. Enough of that. Don't go on thinking unnecessary things. I'll do what I can. That alone should be enough. Keiichi. I returned to my senses after suddenly hearing my name. Looking back, Shion was standing far off in the distance. What are you doing, Shion? I'm sorry to kill the mood, but? Don't have time to be stalling like this, do we? Just to make sure, you know how to get to Satoko's house, right? Huh? Satoko's house is this way. Shion pointed her finger in the opposite direction. Really? Sorry, I just instinctively thought of the shrine. I was getting careless. What was I thinking? Continuing to walk forward without considering my destination. I was so impatient that I didn't take the time to examine my surroundings. When Shion saw my face turn red, she couldn't help but laugh. Back to normal Shion, we see. I see, I know how to speak English. Fun fact, I have been chronically unable to type all day. I just keep, fucking up constantly, all the time. No, besides, I was thinking about stopping at my house on the way. I really should face my mistakes with honor like a man, but instead I ended up making excuses. What did being a man even mean in the first place? As I thought about that, for now we want to take a break and have a cup of tea. Even if we get there, acting belligerent won't help anything, right? What is it? Kichi, your health isn't that way either, is it? I took my excuses too far. What was I thinking? We're losing our fighting spirit. I'm sorry for laughing at you, but I understand that you're a passionate person, Kichi. That's why, sis. Huh? What about Mion? It's nothing. Anyway, let's hurry to Sateko's house. I'll show you the way. Shion beckoned me forward with a smile on her face. You can hold my hand if you like. Give me a break. Keiichi, you're so shy. Well, excuse me for being a little kid. No, Keiichi, you're innocent and straightforward. I envy that. Somehow that seems like a backhanded compliment. I mean it sincerely, but please be careful, okay? Be careful? Because someone could be following us. Her warning suddenly made me feel uneasy. Couldn't be, but felt like someone was watching me from the shadows. A faint smile seemed to float out. Was that my imagination, or... To your friend and mine. We passed through the relaxing country scenery, then found the Hojo house in a clearing before a dense forest. An intense rage welled up inside me as I thought about the hardships Satoko was enduring in there. I rang the doorbell, but there was no response. An eerie silence surrounded the Hojo house. No way. Felt like a disturbing premonition. Okay, I have accidentally spoiled myself, so let's not do that. Hold on. If you keep pressing it like that, you'll break it. Shion's advice went in one ear and out the other. My anger and restlessness drove me to ring the bell several more times. But again, there was no response. Came all the way here. I won't turn away without accomplishing anything. I've already launched myself into a bold attack. Keiichi, if you go any further, you'll be trespassing. Who cares about the police? That doesn't matter anymore. Of course, bring it on. The kind of line I'd expect to see engraved on a motorcycle gang member's jacket flew out of Shion's mouth. Felt like I'd seen something I shouldn't have. But when the pressure was on, Shion looks very reliable. Shion and I took a deep breath, then headed out towards the garden. The living room curtains were swaying and it looked like the window was open. I hid myself in the shadow of a bush, then looked intently towards the swinging curtain. A gentle breeze blew through the air and the curtain fluttered along with it. Beyond that, Satoko was inside. Satoko! Couldn't take it anymore. I got up from my position. Please, wait! Shion stood firmly in my path and cut me off. You're going to stop me at the last moment, Shion? Just as I opened my mouth to protest. Isn't a gentleman supposed to say ladies first at a time like this? Huh? I was stunned for a moment by her unexpected response. Shion, on the other hand, wore a playful grin. I see. She was trying to calm me down. Indeed, I'd lose control if I didn't stay calm. So I took a deep breath to compose myself. Then, once I steadied myself, I jumped over the bush and pushed myself forward, and a moment later I set my foot down inside. Huh? What are you punks doing? You think you can just barge in like that? I was confronted by Teppei's vulgar voice the moment I stepped through the curtains. I wasn't afraid of his threats, but I wanted to help Satoko. That was the one thing racing through my heart at the moment. Keiichi! Satoko. But just then, the door to the next room suddenly slid open, and moist cigarette smoke wafted in. The man in the doorway spoke without looking at us. Chan, need another beer? Inside, several clearly drunken men were sitting around a mahjong table covered in liquor. Bastards. Even though Satoko was right here on the other side of the sliding door. Why don't they care? Bastards aren't people. They're rotten thugs. That moment, I was enraged. I clenched my fist, dripping in sweat, then took a step forward. The men came out of the living room to help Teppei. Then, they surrounded Shion and I. What are you all doing in here? This is Teppei's house. Really, teenagers? Oh, I'm so afraid. No hope for the future with kids like this. Where the hell do you get off? Adults like you are the reason the world has gone to hell. What? Just keep your mouth shut around your elders. It's time for your punishment. Bastards. Pay for that. By that point, my patience was completely exhausted. The fire burning in my heart spread to my entire body, and I swung at Tepe with lightning speed. However, I was outnumbered here. The four of them came at me all at once. Right then, I lamented that my frail, childlike physique was no match for the power of these adults. I'm sorry for the loud engines outside. Every day we must suffer. Self-righteous punk. Let me show you what happens to punks like you who fuck with me. Repulsive laughter filled my ears. I opened my eyes a crack. Tepe swung his fist around wildly. Don't admit defeat in a place like this. Show them you're a man, Kichi. I twisted my body, put all my strength into pushing Tepe away. The force caused Tepe's body to crash into the cupboard. Tepe seemed to take a bad blow from that, and he struggled with a look of rage in his eyes as he got up. Bastard! Kill you! I managed to stand up somehow, but someone caught my arm and pulled me back. He tossed me down to the floor and continued beating me. I turned to look away from the source of my suffering. In the corner of the room, Shion had her arms around Satoko's shoulder, saying, it's all right, as she rubbed her back. Satoko was staring off in the distance with a vacant look in her eyes, and her mouth was hanging open. Someone was furiously knocking at the front door. Satoko's eyes opened wide as she turned towards the door. It sounded like the lock on the door was about to break open. It's Irie. Is everything all right? Is anyone there? Is that the coach's voice? I guess that must be Irie at the door. Shion quickly got up and ran to the front door. Hold it. If you open that, I'll kill you. Tepe's vile voice filled the room, but his cry was in vain. Shion does not give a single fuck about anything. Shion hastily unlocked the front door and invited the visitor inside. Then she escorted Irie into the room. Irie was stunned by the spectacle before his eyes. What is this? Oh, well, if it isn't Dr. Irie. Do you need something? Must be such a pain to come all the way out here. Sorry about that. I was just driving by when I heard terrible noises coming from your house. What on earth is going on here? Shoes are making a mess of the place. Hey, Stoko, bring this man some slippers. Something stylish to match the doctor's way of speaking. This place isn't very classy, but please, make yourself comfortable. I appreciate your concern, but more than that, I'd like to hear your explanation for all this. It's nothing. These kids snuck in without my permission and caused a ruckus. Kids these days have no manners. Barging in, saying whatever shit they want. What a messed up world we're living in now. Can't imagine that they would vandalise the room like this. No, I just gave them a harsh scolding. I'm an old-fashioned man. I never even lifted a hand to them, okay? Just wanted them to learn their lesson. Tepe hesitated as he said that, not wanting to make Irie upset. The fire in my chest finally started to cool off. Now that Irie is here, surely Satoko will be okay. Irie was different from the other elves. He was the kind of person who cared deeply about Satoko. Just as I thought that, I heard an unexpected word that caused me to freeze over. It's nothing. It was Satoko. Then, as I stood there in astonishment, she gazed at me with a focused expression, as if to convey that nothing else needed to be said. Satoko, why are you saying this nonsense? Keiichi, Shion, it was just a misunderstanding. There's nothing to worry about. So please, go home now. Satoko, you don't have to put on a courageous front. Did you not hear me? Please, I asked you to go home. Satoko's eyes were shining with even more strength as she said that to me. Her words were the complete opposite of what I expected. Thank you very much, Keiichi, but enough already. The corner of Satoko's mouth rose just enough to offer a vague smile. Is there nothing I can do for you? All you have to do is nod and I'll jump right into the fire. So don't ask me to stop helping you. Sorry. I faintly heard a noise, a disturbing sound. When I looked back, I noticed Shion standing there. Shion was clenching her teeth, with an incredible amount of force, like trying to slice through gross, thick cuts of meat with a butcher's knife. Mibara, Shion, that's enough for today, okay? On Irie's suggestion, we reluctantly left the hotel house. Tepe's boorish laugh echoed as though to mock us. In that moment, for the first time in my entire life, but not the last, I knew what it meant to hate another person. All I could think about was wishing death upon the person I hated. And as we know from Higurashi, that only ever goes well. My heart was filled with hatred, regret, despair, and an indescribable sorrow. Shion and I were riding in Irie's car. Relaxing classical music was playing on the radio. Save, yeah, I couldn't hear those melodies. The only sound that echoed in my ear was Satoko's voice saying, "It's nothing," over and over. Shion was also sitting silently. I looked at the scenery out the window, but it felt like I was seeing it for the first time in a long time. What will happen to Satoko from now on? And if we're powerless to do anything about this, how will that change the future? I know that Satoko needs help, but if we force anything on her, it would only be a temporary solution. Though what was frustrating and difficult to accept, there was little room for us to intervene in another family's problems. Plus, according to Reina, Satoko had lied to the Okonomiya CCC in the past, which made it difficult for them to exercise any of their own power. It's difficult to trust a person who's already lied to you. That much is easy to understand, but without any sort of solution, no progress will ever be made. An unpleasant sensation ate at my heart as I blamed myself. The more I thought about it, the more I believed this would end in tragedy. No one had spoken a word for a while now. There was no sense of putting it into words, because it hurt to remind ourselves how little we could do. Anything we try would be useless. You feel the same way, don't you? Neon? I wouldn't go quite that far, but the situation isn't so simple. Our earlier conversation with Reina and Neon came to mind. Stop being distracted now. Reina was throwing out harsh words in frustration, and Mian was speaking negatively like she'd already given up. At the time, I was offended by the way both of them were acting, so I went with Shion to the hotel house. But in the end, what could I do? What difference did it make? What if what we did wasn't actually helpful for Satoko at all, and only a way of forcing our one-sided notion of our goodwill upon her? As I thought back, I saw an expression of mixed feelings on Irie's face. The words he chose earlier were safe and ambiguous, clearly demonstrating that his real intentions lay elsewhere. Then, he silently looked down towards us, probably realising that any attempt to debate it with us would be useless. After a sigh, Irie tried to console us with a few kind words. So sad. Such a cruel story. Despite all our strength, determination and effort, there's a limit to what we can do. It's cruel, but it's a fact. I know how you feel, Mibara. I understand that you can't accept it. It's the same for me. Satoko is so cute. I want her to be happier than anyone in the world. If you want Satoko to be happy, why don't you take her away from that man? What you're saying doesn't add up. Unable to suppress my raging emotions, I blurted out an unreasonable response. But Irie remained calm and continued in a quiet voice. But would that actually make her happy? It's impossible for us to decide that on our own. That's squarely in the purview of the gods. Are you suggesting we leave this in the hands of the gods? My excitement drove me to a coughing fit, so Irie handed me a white handkerchief. As I held it close and coughed into it, the sadness and regret coalescing in my chest burned at the back of my throat. It's all right. It will be all right. Even that thought hurt me, making me more miserable. There's nothing I can do for Satoko. This is so frustrating. I suddenly began to shed tears. It's all right. It's all right. Becoming emotional is the only way humans can cope with unreasonable pain. I envy you, Meibara. If I could, I'd settle this all with my own hands. Irie? What am I saying? I no longer have the right to do something like that, yet Irie made a self-tortured smile. I thought I could see a sharp glimmer in his eyes through his glasses. What are you talking about? I'll tell you the truth, Meibara. The reason Satoko doesn't make any effort to escape a hostile environment, she sees it as her atonement. Atonement? Satoko believes that she was responsible for Satoshi's disappearance, so she thinks that being forced to endure this life with her uncle is a punishment for that sin. What are you saying? Now that Satoshi has disappeared, that bastard can just do whatever he pleases? Why should Satoko have to shoulder that sin? She didn't do anything. That doesn't help anyone. Suddenly Shion cried out. There's Irie us. I guess the three of them are in the back while we're up in the front, maybe? Or Irie has like a 3-row car. Nobody is happy with this. If only Satoshi was still here. Satoshi was... Huge teardrops scattered as Shion began sobbing. I couldn't think of anything to say to her. Even if I said something supportive, there was nothing I could do to back it up. How were we any different from the adults who refused to say anything, or Mion who declared it all to be useless? Feelings alone are useless. They have no meaning unless they lead to action. The only reliable way to help Satoko is by raw force. However, that would be an extremely dangerous method. Still, emotions alone aren't sufficient to fight this. The dice have already been thrown. I can't leave Satoko's fate in the hands of dice thrown by someone else. In that case, I should shake the dice myself. It's do or die, Keiichimebara. I rolled an invisible die on the side of my head, then held it tight. I'm going all in. Do or die. Whether I get lucky or whether things go poorly, this may end with a dead man. As that thought filled my mind, I couldn't help but tremble. My heart pounded, exposed to a mysterious fear. The thing with these is that they, I guess because they're like bonus extra arcs, they seem to go really quickly. So it seems like they go rushing through the story, but I guess that's because they don't need to do the setup to... they don't need to do the setup to the festival, so... The car continued pushing forward through the dark abyss. I couldn't see any lights. I couldn't hear anything. Just the sound of my heart be echoing inside my head. The front windshield was beginning to cloud over from the humidity. The entire village was covered in a thick fog. The car's headlights could scarcely illuminate the dull grey surface of the road. I felt like I was being watched. A pair of glimmering eyes was silently coming closer, glaring right down at me. Can't be. Calm down. Calm down. I just need to keep looking forward, not spooky eyes. Forward? Even though I don't know my destination? God, that made me jump. A sharp sound rang out, like nails scraping long glass, as the car suddenly came to a halt. I unhooked my seatbelt and stepped outside. Then I looked out in the direction of the headlights. Oh, we hate to hear it. A pool of stagnant water. The swamp in front of me looked bottomless. Hi? I let out a brief cry and immediately fled the area. When I turned to look back, the car was already gone. Beyond it was nothing but darkness. Hey, what? What? Okay. A warm breeze blew across the back of my neck. As I stumbled forward, I found a fork in the road. I had to choose. Advance forward. Make a decision. I guess this is the nightmare. Choose, advance, decide. Choose, advance, decide. Choose, advance, decide. Mibara. A sudden voice caught me off guard. Are you alright? Looked like you were having a nightmare. Irie was in the driver's seat, anxiously examining my face. I'm going to sneeze. Then I remembered. I was still in Irie's car. On the way home after dropping Shion off in Okinawa. Before I knew it, I must have fallen asleep. A nightmare, huh? Am I really awake? Doesn't feel like it. My body still doesn't feel as lively as usual. I raised my inclined seat, drenched with the sweat from my back. Looking out the window, we'd already passed through town and were about to reach Hinamizawa. Sorry, I'm just a little tired. That's understandable. You've experienced a tough situation earlier. I recalled the words that Shion cried out. That doesn't help anyone. If only Satoshi was still here. Satoshi Helja. That name echoed through my mind like a curse. I no longer cared if I got cursed. I'd gladly sacrifice myself in order to help Satoko. Hey, coach. What kind of person was Satoshi? Irie furrowed his brow for a minute after hearing that. Then, after a brief sigh, he spoke softly. You've heard the story about Satoshi running away from home, right? Yes, you mentioned it before. It's just that everyone starts getting evasive whenever the topic of Satoshi comes up. Indeed, the people of this village can't help but see the connection. Did he really run away from home? What do you think? Iria gave me a piercing glance as I asked that. No, I feel like... Could it be... Do you believe in the Curse of Ayasha-sama? I don't know much about it. Iria lightly raised the corner of his lip. Was he laughing? It was hard to tell. Do you believe in it? The Curse of Ayasha-sama? I'm a man of science, it's part of my job. But ever since I came to this village, I've always felt a bit of a supernatural presence. Oh my, it's getting quite foggy. Iria cut off the conversation to turn on the wipers. They drew a milky white semicircle across the front windshield. Floating on, wiping off. Floating on, wiping off. Floating on, wiping off. That cycle repeated indefinitely. The sound constantly repeated at regular intervals, like the second hand on a clock, and the periodic rhythm was getting on my nerves. Indeed, that sound was a constant reminder that I was on a time limit. The time to make a decision was rapidly approaching. Even if I ran away, it would follow me. I felt like I was lost in an endless maze, and I suddenly began to shiver. We've got enough topic. Perhaps you should ask Shion about Satoshi. I think Shion knew her better than I did. Shion? Iria gave me a gentle look as he nodded. Shion and Satoshi were very close. In a sense, well, they were very dear to each other. That's why she has such a strong sisterly feelings towards Satoko. Shion and Satoshi were. So, as far as Shion was concerned, Satoko was her beloved partner's one and only little sister. It is never really confirmed if they, actually dated, or if it was entirely one-sided, or, they just never got around to saying anything before, everything happened, but maybe in this world they did. Then, was that what she was trying so desperately to help Satoko? There did seem to be some connection between Satoko and Shion. Despite being a member of the Samazaka family, her attitude towards Satoko's predicament was clearly different from Neon's. If only Satoshi was still here. Was your heart being squeezed by thoughts of Satoshi as you shouted that, Shion? Am I just an outsider here? I couldn't shake off a nagging feeling of jealousy. Shion and Satoko were both deeply tied to Satoshi, and there was no place for me in that circle. But Satoshi is the one who ran away from home and abandoned Satoko. I should just forget about a coward like that. He isn't here anymore. But I am. Me. I'm here. Shion's grief-stricken scream crawled into my ears again, and it wouldn't go away. If only Satoshi was still here. He's already gone. Shion, stop saying that. If only Satoshi was still here. But Past had abandoned both you and Satoko, right? He threw you away. If only Satoshi was still here. 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 Those words repeated over and over, like an incantation. I'm home. As I muttered that, I immediately made my way up to the second floor. Welcome back. Hold on, Keiichi. It's already dinner time. What's wrong? You look unhappy. I heard my mother's harsh, thoughtless voice coming from behind my back. I want to be left alone. I don't want to talk to anyone. After violently slamming the door, I didn't even bother turning on the light and dropped down onto my futon right where it was. The tension finally began to die down. I felt strength draining from my body. I don't want to think about anything anymore. I rolled over and pulled the blanket out from underneath me. What? Suddenly, I felt pain coursing through my fingertips. Is this blood? I strained... What? I strained my eyes to look more closely in the dark. My nails were covered in dry blood, and it was getting all over the bed. Tepe stomped on my fingernails when I was down on the floor. I guess it was a powerful attack. When I closed my eyes, an image of Satoko steadfastly refusing my help floated in front of me. It's frustrating, but what can I do? I gave up and ran away today, didn't I? Will my struggling only cause Satoko even more pain? Damn it. Bang. I slammed my fist into the wall as I cursed at my surroundings. Everything felt hollow. I didn't care anymore. An endless feeling of helplessness overwhelmed me. A restlessness nagged at me, A sense of danger caught up to me. I clung to what little self-respect I had left. And then I arrived at my destination, despair. I noticed a shadow lurking in the darkness. It felt like someone was staring at me. That feel when Keiichi already has Hinamizawa syndrome from, like, scene 2. It was just my imagination, of course. But I couldn't laugh it off right now. It's also weird if you consider that, like, if there really is a shadow, it's probably Hanyu, who is scary, but is also, like, in a sense, the chillest member of the whole group. Like, she's scary because of what she is, not who she is or what she does. And in general, she's, you know, she's fairly chill, just hanging out, just straight up vibing. I pulled the blanket over my head, curled it around my body and closed my eyes. I wanted to forget everything and fall asleep. Who's there? I began to doubt my ears after suddenly hearing a strange sound, and I faintly called out to it. Grating laughter echoed through the area. Tell me who you are. I thrust the blanket away and vigorously got up. I heard a creak as I made my way over to the door. Oh. The bright lights in the hallway blinded me. Keiichi, why are you making so much noise? When I opened my eyes a crack, I noticed my mother standing in front of me with a concerned expression. What? Mum? I suddenly began to feel exhausted. What was I getting so nervous about? Oh, were you already going to sleep? It's only dinner time. You look like you're not feeling well. Chin up. Your waist that good face you were born with. Oh, enough of that. I'm not hungry right now, so leave me alone. Oh, don't be stupid. Even if you're not hungry, you still have to eat. We're humans. We'll die if we don't eat. If your spirit is exhausted, you need to put strength in your body and push yourself forward. When you're feeling down, you need to eat at least twice as much as usual. You have to savour 3 meals a day. That's the secret to keeping your mind and body healthy. It's proven effective. Mum insisted on her folk remedies, then turned on the lights and opened the window. As I watched her from behind, I thought to myself that she was a really hard-working mother. Indeed, there was no greater love than smiling and chatting together as a family. It's such a minor thing, but when it happens every day, it really adds up. I always believed that these days would last forever. Satoko probably thought the same thing until 3 years ago. It's like suddenly falling into a trap, where your everyday life begins to collapse. And it could happen to me too. I understand. I'm sorry. Anyway, good night. I wrapped myself in the blanket again to stave off Mum's interference. What are you saying? You need to get up. Reina just came over. Reina? When I made my way to the entrance, I found Reina quietly standing there. Reina, what are you doing here at this hour? Did something happen? Yeah, kind of. What happened? Reina bit her lip instead of answering my question. Reina? Blood. Reina was staring at the blood on the tip of my fingers. Never washed them off. Still covered in blood. Then, before I had the chance to say something, Reina muttered to herself. Is this blood that red? I suddenly began to tremble. It felt like Reina's eyes lit up in red for a moment. Reina, you didn't have to do this. This is far too much. Mum came over to the entryway, holding several large boxes. I made too much food. Please, eat as much as you want. They're lightly salted. How? Reina quickly changed her expression to show Mum her usual smile. Of course. I remember the croquettes from before. They were quite delicious. Really? That's great. How? My family must have eaten 20 of them. I'm glad to hear you enjoyed them. Reina's usual smile as she made the small talk was bright enough to make flowers bloom. But was I mistaken about the Reina I saw a moment ago? Spooky eyes Reina. Back at it again. Anyway, it's about time for Reina to head home. Reina said that to bring the conversation to a close, but she flashed me a sharp glare as she said it. It was like an unspoken agreement. Mum, I'm gonna walk Reina home. Of course, it's getting late. Alright, Reina, take care. Good night, Mum. Reina stepped out the front door without waiting for me to tie my shoes. After I finished putting my shoes on, I turned to Mum. What's wrong, Keiichi? Don't really know how to put this, but thank you for always taking the time to make dinner. Anyway, I gotta go. What's gotten into you? That's the kind of thing you say the day before moving out and getting married. You about to become Keiichi Ryukyu or something? Oh, shut up, enough of that. Feeling overwhelmed with embarrassment, I avoided making eye contact with Mum, so I ran out the front door. At least she knows the dynamic that Keiichi would have. Would definitely be Keiichi Riku. Mum was tilting her head to the side in confusion, but I couldn't help but speak up. I wanted to thank her earnestly for her role in my peaceful, everyday life, so I thought it would be good to say something. I began walking swiftly to catch up with Reina. She was far ahead of me, but the distance between us gradually diminished. Reina looked straight ahead, pushing herself through the darkness like I wasn't even there. A light emerged from the darkness ahead, a streetlight illuminating the road up ahead. I noticed a swarm of moths gathering around the streetlight. I heard the moths' wings getting burnt as they touched the fluorescent light, over and over. We reached a fork in the road. Reina turned and started walking in the wrong direction without a moment of hesitation. Hey, Reina, isn't your house the other way? Hey! Reina remained silent and continued at her current pace. Was there something in this direction? I had no choice but to follow her. Finally, we arrived at our destination, the mountain of garbage at the damn construction site. The area off in the darkness was packed with garbage dumped here illegally, and a disquieting atmosphere began to drift in. After all, the corpse from that murder 5 years ago was found here. Even in the daytime, being down here ran a chill down my spine. So being here, alone with Reina right now, was honestly quite terrifying. Reina advanced into the garbage mountain without hesitation, leaving me behind. Hold on, Reina. It's dangerous in the dark. You'll get hurt. Reina clenched her teeth and pushed ahead, as if my words didn't reach her ears at all. She climbed over a huge industrial refrigerator and disappeared on the other side of the mountain. Reina! My voice echoed vainly in the otherwise silent area. It was total silence. The surrounding area was bathed in a murky darkness. Answer me, Reina? But Reina didn't respond. Something started inside the mountain of garbage. A chill suddenly ran through me. Starting to feel lost, I chased after Reina. I did my best to follow in the direction that she went, but it was so steep that I had my doubts that I'd be able to climb it. Reina must be hiding incredible strength in that slender body of hers. Don't we know it? Though I was out of breath, I somehow finished climbing to the top of the garbage mountain. Standing at the top, I could see a faint light. It seemed to be coming from a station wagon, buried deep in the scrap. Reina? Are you in there? As I approached the station wagon, I cautiously looked in through the sliding door window. Despite its crude appearance, the interior of the station wagon was neatly organised. It was decorated with cushions Reina would find cute, and there was stuffed toy on display. I heard a faint sound just outside my line of sight, and turned to find a huge-eyed hamster in a small basket. Is this Reina's secret hideout? Reina, are you there? I'm coming in. I pulled the sliding door open, and found Reina sitting on a mattress in the back. Her eyes were open wide, gazing at the ceiling. Reina, was there something you wanted to say to me? If that's the case, then please, talk to me. I'd like to hear it. Reina slowly turned in my direction. This is Reina's hiding place. This is the place when I go when I'm feeling angry or sad or lonely, because nobody ever comes here. There's nobody else around, then nobody can say or do terrible things, right? Being alone puts me at ease. You shouldn't say things like that. We're here for you, aren't we? Aren't we friends? You can rely on us when times are tough. Keiichi, you sound like the hero from some TV drama. How meaningless. Keiichi, you always say that Satoko was your friend, right? Even so, Satoko was still suffering alone. You have a happy family, Keiichi. That's why you don't understand. The pain of losing it. Reina grabbed her hair and tugged at it with every ounce of strength in her body. An entire bundle of hair came out and fell to the ground. Know that feeling, except mine is dermatillomania, which is the opposite thing. It's what you pick at your skin. In my case, I pick at my cuticles, which is why they're always disgusting and I hate them. It hurts so much. It hurts. There was nothing I could say to her. She hit the nail on the head. Even though we were friends, that meant nothing for Satoko right now. I felt ashamed of myself for speaking so passionately about friendship. Arguments and lip service simply weren't enough to change reality. I felt frustrated by how helpless and cowardly I was. but at the same time, I felt like I was being crushed by my fear and anxiety. I heard the sound of the trash falling apart. A towering mountain built from a mass of human greed. It almost sounded like a scream from someone under attack. Raina's eyes were wide open and filled with tears. The tears slowly dribbled down her cheeks, then dripped to the ground below. Raina? I looked more closely at her vacant expression. Then she quietly stared into my eyes. She took a deep breath to collect herself. Keiichi? Raina? I nodded while looking her directly in the eyes. Raina already needs to say goodbye to Keiichi. Huh? Goodbye? We'll never meet again. Raina is going to disappear right in front of Keiichi's eyes. Farewell. That's all. I just wanted to say that properly. Farewell? Raina, what are you talking about? Farewell? Why are you suddenly saying that? Raina is also sorry to say goodbye. Even so, this is farewell. What on earth is this all about? Why won't you tell me anything? Why are you keeping it to yourself? Feeling restless, I grabbed Raina by shoulders at full strength. She looked up at the ceiling without changing her expression. Don't say things like farewell. Don't say it. My throat was tightening, and tears were beginning to leak out. I was about to suffocate. I couldn't bear it any longer, so I fell down onto her. She gently stroked my hair like a baby. Then she whispered softly in my ear, I'm going to kill Tepe. What a good cliffhanger, eh? Whoops. Let's pop a save down. That is such a good cliffhanger. Keep going. I think that's the end of chapter 3. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have something to drink because my throat hurts after that. I love all of the characters in this game. Raina and Rika like battle each other for favourite. But Hanyu is close up there. Actually, I'm going to AFK for a second. Bear with me. Speaking of Rika gave me the great idea that a good way to cool down would be to put some wine in my drink because it's been chilling in the fridge for a couple of days. Let's see. Still goes down like a charm. The next morning, Raina wasn't at our usual meeting place. At first glance, it seemed like a fairly trivial detail, but a thought came to me that I'd forgotten to swap back to the gameplay. That's the thought that came to me just then. That the gears had started turning. Even though Raina wasn't here, I could still hear her voice echoing through my ears. I'm going to kill Tepe. I'm going to kill Tepe. Kill. Kill. Raina's voice continued echoing. Guided by those words, I pressed onward and made my way to school on my own. I found the usual morning scene inside the classroom. Raina was already in her chatting gleefully with Rika. You looking forward to the festival tomorrow, Rika? Can't be as carefree about it as you are, Raina. Feeling groggy and I'm about to pass out thanks to all the practices and rehearsals. Rika's gonna look so cute in Shrine Maiden's outfit. Just trying to imagine it. It's so cute. Rena stroked Rika's head with an enchanted look in her eyes. Meep. Seems like Reina's about to take me home with her. Oh, Rika, you're pretty sharp. Reina was getting along with Rika. She smiled and called out good morning as soon as she noticed me. I couldn't discern anything from Reina's expression, just a generic smile on her face. I suddenly felt a sharp jab on my back, and when I turned around, I saw Mion standing there. Good morning, Keiichi. Good morning. Hey, wait. Mion sat down in her seat to evade my words, then said, sorry, as she clapped her hands together. What was that all of a sudden? Did you do something to me? Keiichi, you really didn't realise? Mion examined my expression more closely. Oh, it doesn't help at all. I have no idea. I see. After muttering that, Mion's expression began to cloud over for a minute, but her face quickly changed back to something brighter. Then it'll have to stay a secret. Oh, come on, you don't have to be that way. What is it? Don't hold back. It's not such a big deal. You know how I was late for our meetup today? Yeah, come to think of it, that's true. I didn't think much of it until Mion brought it up. I was so concerned about Reina that I completely failed to notice Mion wasn't at our regular meeting place. Sorry about that. I was dragging my feet a bit before heading out of the house. I was making good time, but I packed the wrong textbook and that threw everything off schedule. I really dropped the ball. I noticed as soon as I left the house. I went, huh? Then rushed back to swap them, and that's why I was late for our meeting. Mion, why are you trying so hard to lie to me? You'd never make such an obvious mistake. Based on her rough appearance, I could tell she wasn't feeling insecure about her punctuality. She went out of her way to make up this big excuse, even though I didn't ask. Did she have some sort of ulterior motive? Besides, Mion has been late for our meetings a couple of times before, so why would she only bother to apologise for it today? First glance, it seemed like a fairly trivial difference. Trivial detail. Trivial change. A second gear started turning. Huh? Keiichi, your eyes are all red. They look completely bloodshot. Does that mean you stayed up late last night? Oh, really? I was watching a really interesting late-night TV show. My mistake. I instinctively reacted with a lie. I absolutely couldn't tell Mion about what I discussed with Rain at the garbage mountain yesterday. Plus, I found a manga that I'd been neglecting to read, so I stayed up until morning reading it. Me with Higurashi when I finally get round to starting the manga from scratch again. Wow, an all-nighter. Must have been a really interesting story, huh? No, not really. It was a pretty conventional story. Nothing worth talking about. Nothing worth talking about, huh? Mion continued prodding me. Felt like I was on the wrong side of an interrogation. Maybe I was just overreacting. Still, the burden of keeping secrets from my friends weighed heavily on me. We can tell this is going to go terribly, literally because there was a wedge driven into the group from the very first scene. And all these secrets and lies only going to make things worse. I was feeling abnormally sensitive, afraid that I might just scream at a moment's notice. Anyway, about yesterday. Huh? What about yesterday? I have something to say, Mion. What's gotten into you today? Let's not hold anything back from each other. We're friends, after all. At that moment, I suddenly fell silent. I felt stinging pain in my back. Reina was watching. Her eyes were looking in my direction, with spooky eyes. Keiichi, I wanted to talk to you about yesterday. I was too harsh on you. I went too far. It's fine, forget it. I said some terrible things to you too, Keiichi. Besides, I'm the kind of person who can forget everything after a good night's sleep. It's Mion, right? Mion pleasantly shrugged her shoulders and laughed with me. Felt like the weight of my heart was finally getting a little lighter. Hey, Keiichi, was that all you wanted to say to me? Huh? Seemed like you had something else to say, didn't you? So Mion said something after all? I froze on the spot, as if hit by a magic spell. Keiichi, noted, terrible liar. Felt like slow emotion as Mion approached me, step by step. Hey, Keiichi, we're friends, right? That means we shouldn't keep secrets, right? Because we're friends. We're friends, right? The sound of me swallowing vividly echoed. There? I let out a quick yelp after receiving a pat on the shoulder. Reina's head was slightly tilted as she stared curiously in my direction. Reina? Reina quickly turned away, then laughed softly as she looked at Mion. What are you laughing about, Raina? Mion asked with a sullen expression. Because. Mion, your eyes were all red too. Were you up then? Were you? With that one comment, the string on tension wrapped around us finally came loose. Mion let out a huge yawn, then began to laugh. That's right, we had an annual conference last night. So sleepy, so sleepy. Was the conference related to a Tanagashi? We call it a business conference, but it's really more of a party. The townspeople gather together and make a ruckus until morning. We do it every year before the festival. It's difficult to have a proper business conference nowadays. No way, you're drinking? You're underage. Of course not. Quit nagging me. What I mean, my brother-in-law? Caught up in Mion's boisterous laughter, I began laughing along with her without even realising it. Raina and Rika joined in, laughing together happily. Like our usual, everyday routine. But for me right now, reality just didn't have that sweet, fluffy cotton candy feel to it. It had a gritty feel that had all my senses on edge, thanks to the incident last night. Seeing those two eyes, spilling fresh blood, following disturbing shadows through the mountain of garbage, quietly entering a secret lair. So Mion, did you stay up all night because of the conference? Huh? You said that cleanup every year lasts until morning. Right? Mion struggled to find a reply to Raina's conjecture. Her face quickly turned defensive, and both of her eyes shifted into a sharp glare. Spooky eyes crew, advance. But Raina didn't flinch. She just looked down at Mion. At first glance, it seemed like a fairly trivial disagreement. A trivial detail, a trivial change, a trivial disagreement. The two gears became entangled in reverse direction, at a speed that nobody could possibly stop. And then, Raina's voice continually echoed in my ears. I'm going to kill Tepe. I'm going to kill Tepe. Kill. Raina let out a huge yawn, then began to laugh. Actually, Raina stayed up late last night too. We all have that in common, haha. What are the odds we'd all be on the same wavelength? But learning that everyone stayed up together makes me glad. As I watched Raina play around with an innocent smile on her face, I thought back to last night. That man, Tepe Hojo, is Raina's enemy. Enemy? Raina gently nodded, then casually picked up a stuffed animal sitting inside the station wagon. Must be a really old stuffed animal. It's completely filthy and it's falling apart. Isn't that stuffed animal adorable? Well, it's not really what a man would say, but I do think it's cute. That's right. That means Raina is a strange one, right? Right? Raina gently stroked the head of the stuffed animal, then immediately began strangling it. I'm gonna sneeze again. Oh, pardon me. Big sneezes. Normally I don't get allergies, but like the first spring where I'm in a new place, it's always really bad. Like the first spring after I moved up to Nottingham, I had really bad allergies. I guess just because I'm used to like what we get in London, and then it must be different enough out here that it's getting to me. Not as bad as some of my friends who like always get hay fever, but enough where it's like, oh, I can feel it. Raina gently stroked the head of the stuffed animal, then immediately began strangling it. The stuffed animal's face warped in an unsettling manner. She crushed its neck. That's strange, isn't it? Raina just can't see it as cute. Raina? If you keep squeezing it so hard you'll break it. It's because that woman gave me this stuffed animal. Raina put every ounce of strength in her body into it as she said that. Whoa. The head of the stuffed animal was torn out and rolled to the ground. Raina hatefully clenched the remains of the stuffed animal in her hands. This was from a filthy woman trying to win my favour. Despicable. Raina threw the remains of the stuffed animal away, like she was trying to rid herself of something dishonourable, and then she wiped her hands on the hem of her skirt. Who is this woman? I don't want to speak her name. My mouth would deform if I did. In the face of Raina's cold strength, all I could do was keep breathing. Honestly, it's not just for Satoko's sake. Raina has her own reason for killing Tepe. That man came together with that woman and made a mess of my family. As she said that, Raina was wiping her hands so quickly and forcefully that they were turning red. These are times when I feel really bad for Raina because I recognise all of these symptoms. I want to be like, Raina, please, you are having an equivalent to, not quite a panic attack, but like on those wavelengths. I don't know what I would do to help it, because I'm terrible at dealing with them for myself, let alone anyone else. My technique when I have panic attacks these days is, especially if it's something relevant, is to call my mum and say, this is the thing that's wrong, and I'm panicking, more or less. And then I will go straight into hyperbole and, like, explain the situation and then be like, oh, everything's terrible and I'm dying, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, how am I this stupid, blah blah blah. And Mum will be like, okay, you're going to stop catastrophizing, and you're going to do this step first, and then this step, and I will do this thing, and your brother will do this thing, and we will get this problem sorted. Thank goodness somebody here has a brain that does not sometimes just spill over. As she said that, Raina was wiping her hands so quickly and forcefully that they were turning red. Even in the dark, I could see a sharp, foreboding light glistening in her eyes. And just when my father was finally beginning to look on the bright side and thinking of starting all over with her, Raina bit her lip, then slowly began to speak. It was the story of her family that she desperately tried to keep hidden behind a smile. A woman that Raina refused to even refer to by name approached Raina's father and deceived him to wrest large sums of money and property from him. The woman was actually Tepe's companion, and the two of them were collaborating behind the scenes. As fate would have it, the woman suffered a mysterious death right as Raina noticed what was going on. Thanks to that, the damage she was able to inflict was cut off before Raina and her father were forced to the streets. However, the scars left on Raina's family cut deep, casting dark shadows across Raina's heart. The hem of her skirt was turning red from traces of fresh blood. One small scratch grew and spread. But even so, she wouldn't stop moving her hands. How much of a difference was there, really? Between a wound that gnaws at your heart and a wound that bruises your body. A visible wound eventually heals over in time, but an invisible wound can run so deep that it may last forever. Even many years later, a chance encounter can suddenly remind you that your bright red wound remains open. Those people are vermin. They trample on a field that a man toiled desperately to plough, stomp on the beautifully blooming flowers, and devour the fruit from any trees bearing ripe fruit, ruining everything. And that's not all. Those people try to worm their way into people's lives, using detestable theatrics to portray themselves as sympathetic, while rolling them along and deceiving them like parasites. They're parasites. How dare they? How dare they? If it were only Raina, it would have been fine. My misfortune is a result of Ayasha-sama's curse. I rightly deserve it, so I can bear it. But I won't let misfortune fall on Toko too. Not ever. Never. Suddenly Raina stopped moving her hands. Right, that was it. In the end, that was it. Raina? Raina saw it in her dreams. 8 hands. Those with the legs of a spider, intent on exterminating vermin. 8 hands? Raina nodded with a vacant smile, still lost in a dreamlike state. Thinking about it now, the 8 hands that Raina mentioned. Raina's own hands, of course, and probably the hands of 2 more people who joined in on the plan. But who did the last 2 hands belong to? I was figuring, like, maybe Raina, Keiichi, and Shion? Mion obviously isn't scared to get her hands dirty, but I feel like maybe not in this sort of situation. The hands of Ayasha-sama. Raina muttered just that. Awesome. Something made a noise off in the darkness. I felt a chill run across my back. In that moment, I didn't have the courage to look behind me. Keiichi, it's time to say goodbye, so farewell. Don't say farewell. I may not understand all the pain and hardship you've endured on your own, but is there really nothing I can do to help you? I can't say something cool like I'll support or protect you, but I think I could help even a little to take your mind off your troubles. Maybe all I can do is listen to you, but even so. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that you feel this way, Keiichi. But after you murder someone, it's impossible to return to your old life. In order to obtain something, you have to give up something of equal, no, of greater value. Sorry for phone noises. So Raina needs to leave everyone behind in order to protect the things she holds dear. And so this is farewell, Keiichi. Raina turned to me and smiled as hard as she could, with huge eyes full of tears. Then she turned back, opened the door, and disappeared into the darkness without a moment of hesitation. At that moment, while I was sitting alone in a field of garbage, I could only watch Raina's back as she stood tall and pressed onward. And even now, after all this time had passed, all I could do was stare at Raina's back. After class, Raina said that she couldn't stay for club activities and was about to leave the classroom on her own. Anyway, it's time for Raina to head home. See you tomorrow, Raina. Be careful on the way home, Raina. Yeah, bye-bye, Mion. Bye-bye, Rika. Raina, farewell, Kichi. Raina turned to me with a pleasant smile as she left the classroom. It wasn't too late. If I held my hand out, I could still reach her, but I couldn't do it. As a result, Raina's back got smaller and smaller, and then she disappeared completely from my sight. Sorry, there we go. Perhaps we'll end up destroying the things we can't repair with our own hands. Seeing Raina leave filled me with despondence. I sat back down on my desk and buried my head. Raina entrusted me with the details of her plan, and it drifted through my mind so many times. But in my dreams that I was taking action. That unforgettable feeling ran through my subconscious visions, but I wanted more. I wanted to kill him myself. Once again I saw my true feelings. I'm going to kill Tepe. I'm going to kill Tepe. Kill. Kill. Raina's words continued echoing in my ears and my heart was racing. I want to kill him. I want to kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Kill. Want to kill. Want to kill. 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 Want to kill. Kill. Want to kill. 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 Want to kill. 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 Keiichi? An unexpected voice calling out my name brought me back. When I looked up, I saw Shion standing there with a haggard expression. Seems that a long time had passed without me realising it. Mion and Rika have apparently already gone home. What should I do now? I just don't know. Shion made a painfully distorted face as she clutched at her hair. Shion, what's wrong? Why'd you come all the way out here? Shion let out a deep sigh, then collapsed into the seat next to me. Tsukiotoshi did it again. Did it again? Did something happen? The Okonomiya CCC finally responded, and Tsukiotoshi turned them away again. Why is she so stubborn, so obstinate? I guess Tsukiotoshi was just a strong-willed little girl. Then does that mean it'll be just like last time? Shion responded with a helpless nod. Now, Tsukioto's abuse will only escalate further. No, it can't be. Shion let out a self-tortured laugh. And in the end, it was mixed with tears. All the more reason to kill him. I want to kill him. Kill, 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 kill. A grievous cry erupted from the depths of Shion's heart. Her words resonated vigorously with the rage inside my chest. That was it. At this point, I finally realised it. All options other than murder had already been exhausted. You were willing to risk your life for Tsukioto's sake? Huh? Shion gazed at my face in astonishment. Answer me. Depending on your reply, I'm willing to share everything with you. Shion shook her head a little, like she didn't understand what I was getting at. I collected all my thoughts as I gazed at Shion. I won't turn away any longer, so if you feel the same way I do, just nod quietly. Yes. Shion muttered that in a timid voice, while giving me a stern nod. Then, her expression gradually regained its vigour. Of course, because Tsukiotoshi left his beloved little sister in my care. We stared each other down to measure the strength of our will. I have to say, having the, fridge cold wine in this OJ, making it so much better. Sorry, my phone keeps buzzing. And then we both vigorously nodded to each other. Alright, Shion, come with me. I took Shion and headed to the garbage mountain. I thought about Raina sitting alone in her secret room, surrounded by a mountain of garbage, and it made me walk faster. This is the path that I walked with Raina last night. But this time, I feel no helplessness or shame. I promise not to look away any longer. There's only one thing I see now. Raina's delicate back, trembling in solitude, struggling to fight off incredible anxiety. Hold on, Raina. I'll catch up with you soon. You're not alone. I'll stand beside you. Let's turn our faces together. Society, morals, sin and punishment, everything. What are we doing in a place like this? It's kind of scary. Don't worry, trust me. Shion looked a little hesitant, but she quietly nodded. It's alright. I'm not leading you to the gates of hell. Oh. Okay, sorry. Of course. If you try anything funny, Keiichi, I'll snap your neck at Mach speed and hit the ground running. Oh, wait a minute. That's just the basic level of self-defense, right? Shion finally had a smile on her face. I felt relieved and smiled back at her. The two of us held hands. I pulled Shion by the hand as I ascended the mountain of garbage. Then we quietly approached the station wagon. Reina, are you there? I felt an indication of someone breathing inside. Reina, you're there, aren't you? Reina quietly hid herself and wouldn't reply. Reina, just listen to me. I know you're true to your beliefs, so now that you've said you're farewell, you don't want to see me anymore. I guess that's how you see it, but I've made a decision. I'm not going to leave you behind. If you refuse and try to run away, I'll keep going and follow you the rest of my life. I'll keep you locked away like a hidden treasure. You wouldn't run back, would you? Faint sounds creeped out from within the station wagon. I could picture Reina desperately shaking her head. Look me in the eyes, Reina. The door of the station wagon slowly opened. Then Reina bashfully tilted her head up to reveal her face. Reina. I ran up to her. You're so persistent, Keiichi. Reina laughed as she said that, but she froze the next moment when she caught a glimpse of Shion. Why is Shion here? Reina's eyes carefully fixated on Shion. Reina, I'm here about that. Reina put her hand on the door to cut me off. Just barely in time. I managed to stop the door from closing, but had to sacrifice my right hand to do it. Are you alright, Keiichi? Oh. Was that a direct hit? Shion calmly threw in an accurate verbal jab. Who shuts a door like that? Seriously? Sorry, Keiichi. Reina didn't see your hand there. I didn't think I'd slam it on you. Reina looked like she was on the verge of tears as she grabbed my right hand and tried breathing on it. Pain, pain, go away. Pain, pain, go away. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Keiichi, have you gone crazy from the pain? No. It was just that seeing Reina react like her usual innocent self made me feel relieved. I cleared my throat, then turned to face her once again. Reina, listen. I feel the same way as you, and so does Shion. Reina cast a sideways glance towards Shion. She looked back towards me with a perplexed expression. About the plan that you told me about yesterday. I'd like to help you. Reina's eyes opened wide and wandered in disbelief. No, that's wrong. I want you to help me. I'm going to do it, so lend me your aid. What do you mean? With my own hands, I'm going to kill Tsukiotoshi. Keiichi? She let out a brief shriek and stared at me in disbelief. What do you mean by that? It's just as you heard, Shion. I'm going to kill him. Everything I told you yesterday was true. I'll fight to save Satoko. I'll save her by whatever means necessary. But even so, you're saying there's a way that doesn't involve killing him? Not a chance. Reina and I have both accepted that fact. There's no time left. We have to do it. That's... Shion's shoulders drooped and began lightly trembling. She bit her lip and furrowed her eyebrows. If Shion and Reina turn spooky eyes on us, I will probably die IRL. Just saying.
Come on in, Chuck. Come on in.
What was that? Hello, Sounds Not Straight. Thank you very much for the raid. It is very much appreciated. I have forgotten how to speak. Hi. There we go. Nice. ESO. I hope it went well. I hope you're having a good. Hello, raid friends. I say waving at my camera as if I've got it turned on at the moment. I am Amochi. Hello. I am a variety streamer, and at the moment I am streaming Higurashi When They Cry, Tsukiotoshi, which is alternate retelling of one of the question arcs, and so far has not pulled any punches. It's just gone straight into the terrible. It starts with terrible and it just keeps going. So, if that sounds okay, welcome along. Yeah, I don't know if you've played Higurashi or like watched it or read it, but that's kind of a summary for the entire series. It's just that most of the main arcs have a bit of comedy at first and then it goes into the terrible. This has like no comedy at all. It's straight into everything's awful, which I get the impression is basically what all of the extra arcs are like. So get back to it. Not a pocket of anime I'm going to. That's fair. I've actually never watched the anime. I read about half of the manga and then I've been playing through all the visual novels. So my experience is mostly the VNs. But it's very good. It's the earlier chapters especially, very, very good horror games. This one appears to be like less supernatural horror and more interpersonal horror, which is still great. For some reason my captioner thinks that when I'm saying horror, you're hearing it as horror. Yeah, exactly. It's a sort of hero where horror, all of those words where you're like, everything is terrible and so is everyone else. Right, let's get back to it. And Shion puts on her spooky eyes, laughs, and as Shion raised her head, she burst out laughing with all the force in her body. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The three of us all feel exactly the same thing. Euphoria. Those thoughts alone are enough to kill that skull. Double spooky eyes. I was playing the latest expansion of Final Fantasy XIV the other day, and there were definitely some like spooky eyes moments on there. I was like, please don't. I do it so well. Rain is happy too. I feel that same love. Their laughter echoed throughout the mountain of garbage. An orchestra of loathing. A trio of murderous intent. It's interesting, I guess, that like Shion and Reina are the two that are like... Actually, I was going to say they're the two that got the Hinamizawa syndrome. Keiichi's very obviously got it as well. It seems like the two of them are the ones who are like, yay, murder, and Keiichi's like, murder, I guess. But I'm sure that each of them are thinking the same about the other, no doubt. I entrusted myself to that beautiful sound. Reina, Keiichi, of course I'll cooperate. I figured you felt that way, Shion. But this is a major decision. Don't rush. You can think carefully about this. Shion wore a courageous smile as she stood up straight and approached us. Shion. Well, you willing to include me in your plan? Reina turned her eyes towards me. We're fighting to defend our future, not just for Satoko. Reina, I'll defend your happiness too. If you believe me, then be your strength. Don't give up on your future. Grab hold of it with your own hands. Reina smiled and nodded at me. Then she and Shion placed their hands on top of mine. 3 overlapping hands. We all silently nodded. Alright. Thank you for the follow, Logic Buster. It is very much appreciated. I have a feeling that you might actually be my 200th follower, so if so, that is very cool. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Let me check, actually. Stream Manager. No, that's not the one I want. I am unable to hit the correct buttons. You are my 200th follower, so thank you. That's very cool of you. I'm like doing thumbs up towards the screen as if I had my camera on, despite the fact that I don't. In part because I am boiling and look like a mess. Yes, big thank you. After our murder pact, we all raised our hands towards the sky together. Thanks, Keiichi. Does this mean you'll take back your farewell, Reina? Yep. Reina gave me a powerful nod and held my right hand tight. Oh, sorry, did that hurt, Keiichi? Something so insignificant wouldn't kill him. Pain, pain, go away. Pain, pain. Shion began to mutter like she was adding her strength to Reina's spell. Pain, pain, go away. Pain, pain, go away. Suddenly, all three of our voices overlapped. Pain, pain, go away. Tepe Hojo's pain, go away. Go somewhere else, far away. Inside our secret lair, fucked up if true, we made an oath to pledge our sinful resolve. We held each other's hands and locked eyes. Then we deeply nodded to one another, determined to fight for our future. The sunset enveloped the garbage mountain. So I call my home the garbage mountain. Suck. The surrounding area faded from orange to vermilion, and then a deep red, like an omen for our terrible, blood-stained world. Just as we stain our world with loathsome sentiment, everything around us will be dyed more and more red. Now it's Shion's turn to bleed from the hands worryingly. Those double spooky eyes, man. Cannot be dealing with those. Okay. Let's drop and save. Let's see, where are we? Gosh, I have too many tabs open. Yeah, it is a pain. I think I'm probably going to get through this, depending on how long it takes, to get through this chapter and see. We'll see. We'll see. After we finish this chapter, I'll see what time it is and how I'm feeling. Luckily, I do not have any last minute work to catch up on, so I can actually like stream to 11 without feeling horrendous guilt about it, unlike yesterday. But I'm still really warm and kind of need a break. A chilling silence filled the room. I found myself fidgeting and feeling uncomfortable, even though I was in my own room. Reina sat by the window and gazed out at the village as night fell. We all agreed to meet at my house to put our plan together. But even though it was well beyond our arranged meeting time, Shion still hadn't arrived. Shion wasn't planning on betraying us at the last minute, was she? Doubt plagued my mind. I scratched my hair in an attempt to shake it off. Dull pain coursed through the back of my head, and the strange feeling slowly dissipated. Tea is getting cold, so you should drink it quickly. My mum and dad are both out. I've only really learned by watching them, but the taste probably isn't that bad. My relatives sent it to us. This flavour is really popular in Tokyo. Rainy didn't respond to anything. She just pointed her eyes out the window and stayed silent. I sat quietly, drinking tea alone like an idiot. Ah, KG. Even though I drank and never quenched my thirst. Shion's late. Raina muttered only that. Yeah. Again we fell silent. Raina slowly licked her dry lips. Made a strange sound. Even though I wasn't sure I could stand, I rose to my feet. And at the same time, Raina vigorously turned back. Where are you going? I flinched the moment Raina's piercing gaze fixated on me. I'm going to check outside really quick. Maybe Shion got lost on the way here. Shion's been to your house before, right, Keiichi? Yeah. Raina continued staring at me as she came closer and closer. Maybe Shion got scared. Scared? Raina seemed like she was looking right through my heart as she said that. No way. Shion isn't the kind of person who would break a promise. What if Shion isn't the person you think she is, Keiichi? What are you saying? It's not right to doubt your friends, Raina. I know, right? It's really good. I'm like... time my speaking to the music. The music in the console versions, which is a modded port of, apparently is much better than in the PC versions. So if you do want to play these games, I would recommend getting them through Steam or your other favoured game purchasing site, and then going to 07th expansion, 07th-expansion, either com or org, I can't remember, and downloading 07th mod. You can apply the patch to all of the games. It also has a console art patch, and you can have the console graphics, which are these ones, which are better than either of the PC graphics in my opinion, and you also get the console music, which from the last game in this game alone, definitely better than the manga gaming music. It's not right to doubt your friends, Reina. Reina trusts Keiichi. I see. So you absolutely must not betray me. Reina grabbed my arm and squeezed it tight. I understand. It's a promise. No matter what. Reina filled her hand with incredible strength as she squeezed me. So much that it hurt. No matter what. Struggling to mutter a response, I nodded to her several times. Reina absolutely will not betray Keiichi either. If I were to break that promise, Ayashiro-sama would punish me next. After saying that, Reina gave me a sickeningly sweet smile. I don't know if any of you guys play Final Fantasy 15, but seeing that absolutely is making me think of the latest Yoha raid, the red girl boss in the tower. That sort of just smiley face. As soon as she appears, you just go. I just constantly put that in chat. It's really well done, and it's incredibly spooky. Gave me a sickeningly sweet smile. When Rain released my arm, there were clear red marks on the spot where she was holding me. It looked like a stamp, and it felt warm and tingly. Oof. Suddenly I thought that this mark would stay with me for the rest of my life. After this, we're going to put a terrible plan into motion, assuming that we're able to carry out the plan successfully. However, our complicity in the crime will stay with us for the remainder of our lives. Our entire relationship would fall apart if someone were to ever reveal our secret. We'll be constantly watching and warning one another to avoid treading the road to ruin. That tense atmosphere will likely follow us until we die. A staggeringly long time, holding on to it for an entire lifetime. A mark engraved so deep that it would last forever. I wonder if my heart can endure that without breaking. Even if you need to transfer away, Reina will come visit, so you'll never forget about Reina, she said, as though she'd read my dispirited mind. This game, I have to say, this whole series is very good at doing that. It's very good at building up the tension and then breaking it deceptively. So the things, Reina especially does that a lot, where she's like, you sort of accidentally or purposely tell a lie and she goes, you're lying, and she gets the spooky eyes, and then after Keiichi's desperate at scrambling and his inability to lie, she's like, just kidding, how? And then you're like, ugh. It's why she's one of my favourite characters. She's very well written. She said that as though she'd read my dispirited mind. But don't worry, I'm not worried. That's right, because when people from Hinamizawa leave the village, they always come back. Strange, isn't it? No matter where you run, it always pulls you back. The sound of me swallowing my spit vividly echoed across the ring. So don't worry, Keiichi. Reina's words went deep into my heart. There's no turning back. Her eyes were fixated on me like she'd never let go. Nothing could turn them away. I can no longer run away. My retreat has already been cut off. I'm already crawling down this road, and it's time for me to walk on my own 2 feet. Suddenly, I heard the doorbell ring off in the distance. Reina quietly nodded to me. I bit my lip as I opened the door to my room. Then, I slowly descended the stairs while sorting out my thoughts. Step by step. The wood felt cold to the touch as it creaked underfoot. Heading down, step by step, just to be certain I'm on the right path. Steadily moving myself forward. There is no other way. Don't look back. You're on the right path. I was filled with a peculiar sense of purpose. I felt no fear, so I'll follow this path. And then I'll open the door, and our ideal future will be waiting for me on the other side. Or just Shion. Keiichi? When I opened the front door, I found Shion gazing at me with a puzzled expression. The thing is, with Shion and Reina specifically, Keiichi is absolutely out of my depth. I have forgotten how to speak English. Keiichi is absolutely out of his depth. As the player character, we also out of our depth. He definitely cannot handle the two of them. When I opened the front door, I found Shion gazing at me with a puzzled expression. Her eyes were open wide, like she was looking at a total stranger. She looked like a completely different person, somehow. Shion tried to hide her feelings behind a smile, but her unease was as clear as day. You're late. I'm sorry. I got a weird phone call right as I was about to head out. Phone call? Yeah, completely silent phone call. I could hear someone faintly breathing. It was really creepy. Prank call? Probably. But thanks to that, I felt the need to be extra careful while looking up, so it took a while to get here. I'm sorry. Shion quickly bowed her head. I was relieved when I saw your face, Keiichi. I guess you could say you looked just so relaxed. Shion laughed without reservation. Yeah, I get it. I look like I'm totally in over my head. Because you are. Don't be that way. Thanks to Shion, I was finally beginning to relax. Enjoy it is going to last for the next 30 seconds. However, Shion and I grew silent as we made our way up the stairs, and the oppressive atmosphere quickly returned. All the actors have assembled. Keiichi Maebara, Reina Ryugu, Shion Samazaki. The three of us confronted one another from a safe distance and looked over the two cards lined up before us. The first card was Teppei Hojo. Indeed, the main character of the night. Despite not being present, he was the starring role. Unbeknownst to him, his time was quickly approaching. A vision of Teppei nosing about while tormenting Stoko came to mind and burned in the fires of my heart. With my emotions boiling over inside of me, I turned over the second card. The second card was the perfect crime. Those words had a power to them like a magic spell. This crime is necessary for us to obtain our ideal future, so there mustn't be any holes in our plan. We've gathered here to put together the perfect crime. I say as a motorcycle drives past. I do apologise if you can hear it. I don't live too far away from a fairly busy road, so... If Reina is already, I've done some work into planning the perfect crime. As Reina said that, she pulled out a college-ruled notebook. She must have put her soul into writing down these thoughts. The paper was warped from intense writing, and some of the characters were blurry. Reina was clearly taking this seriously. Any method of carrying out the actual murder should be fine. The key point is that nobody can determine the identity of the perpetrators. I think that alone is all that matters. Indeed, there were many criminals out in the world struggling to conceal the truth of their crimes, but they usually ended up destroying themselves. Human beings are imperfect. If small mistakes are made here and there, some of them will line up and allow other people to put pieces together, and that ultimately ends up casting suspicion on them. I had a thought, which is that in Higurashi, Keiichi's way of hiding is that he tells Mion to make sure Satoko goes to the festival because he can't, and to have lots of fun for him, and then they all pretend like he was there. Although at the time I really did think, does Keiichi have a secret doppelganger? Just because of Mion and Shion. But I think it's more likely that they realised what he was doing and they were all deliberately covering for him, including Satoko, weirdly, which doesn't quite make sense because I don't know. Anyway, what I meant to say was I don't know how they can pull that off with 3 people. Like, Shion could probably get away with not coming to the festival. Maybe not. I can't remember whether or not she believes in the curse. She is always there though, so maybe not. But certainly Keiichi and Reina could. Maybe one of them could get away with it, but the other one couldn't. In other words, we need to establish an alibi. That's right. So all of us are going to attend Watanagashi tomorrow night. But we'll actually be out killing Teppei, not going to the festival. Reina responded to Shion with a deep nod. You suggested we all corroborate each other's alibi? They are going to try and pull it off with 3 people, never mind. Yeah. We'll all be innocently enjoying Watanagashi tomorrow, as if nothing happened at all. But in reality, we'll be taking Teppei Hojo's life with our own hands. Reina looked just like she did when she strangled that stuffed animal to death inside the station wagon, wearing a completely nonchalant expression on her face. Another thing we need to consider is the potential for eyewitnesses. Most of the villagers will be attending the festival, so I think it'd be best to carry out the crime during that time frame. We should kill Teppei in a place where nobody would ever go. Anything can happen, so we need to get it done in the shortest possible time frame. We assembled our plan to the best of our ability. Reach back in time, Keiichi. Reach back in your memories and grab all of the bits that weren't shit. The only really bad bit of that actually was the place where the fact that you chose to bury the body too lightly and then came back to check that it was buried. They said casually. This was neither a game nor a fantasy. It was reality. I needed to feel something tangible, so I dug my nails into my knees. Then a dull pain ran through my body. With all that done, the perpetrators can vanish without any witnesses. Next, we need to determine how we'll eliminate all traces of the victim. Eliminate all traces? The victim doesn't exist, there's no crime. It's as if nothing ever happened at all. You're speaking about corpse disposal? Yeah. We need to hide it somewhere it'll never, under any circumstances, be found. A place where nobody will ever find it. A vision of the Onagafuchi swamp suddenly flashed before my eyes. You should have done this from the beginning, TBH, to be honest. The bottomless swamp. The perfect stage for Teppei to meet his demise. What about the Onagafuchi swamp? Nobody would ever be able to find him if we put him in there, right? Reina frowned in response to my suggestion. Reina considered that at first too, but if you also thought of that, doesn't that mean anyone else could as well? The police would consider investigating Onagafuchi right away. I still feel like it would be better given that, like, Rika's mum disappeared and they never found her. I feel like it's big enough that they could get away with it, but they searched the area with all their might. They'd find it quickly. Good point, Reina. We also need to consider how we're going to move the corpse. We poured our heart and soul into devising the plan, tearing down earlier plans and rebuilding them from the ground up. After breaking it down and repeatedly reworking our plan, we settled on the simplest method. First, we'll invite Tsukiotoshi to the festival to isolate Teppei. Then we'll pose as a police officer and demand Teppei come to us. Teppei will probably head out on his motorcycle. There's only one road leading out of town from Tsukioto's house, and it has no streetlights. We'll set up an ambush in the dark by hanging a black rope over the road. Once Teppei shows up on his motorcycle, Reina and Shion will pull on the ends of the rope. Teppei will fall off his bike. Then I'll swiftly move in to deliver the killing blow. Even though I asked Reina and Shion for their cooperation, I wanted to carry out the actual murder myself. I felt like it was my duty to keep the two of them from becoming murderers. As if the two of them aren't already murderers in multiple games, Shion especially. First, the two of them frowned at my suggestion, but I eventually managed to get through to them, and they were willing to leave everything to me. After the murder, the three of us will carry the corpse and bury it in a hole that we prepared in advance. Shion will drive the motorcycle into Onagafuchi swamp, and Reina will dispose of the murder weapon. All that remains is the murder weapon. We fell silent once again, overwhelmed by the fact that we were on the verge of killing them. Then I started staring down at the hand that would be holding the hypothetical murder weapon. It didn't feel real, but oddly enough, my heart didn't feel agitated. It was the peace of mind from not being alone. It's called dissociation, mate. And the diluted sense of guilt due to not being alone. We stared each other down to evaluate everyone's convictions. A steak knife or a kitchen knife would be easy to come by, but I think we should avoid using weapons that leave traces of blood. Well, what if we strangled him with a rope? It's too risky. What if he tries to fight back or run away? Then what else is there? I moved closer to Reina as I asked that. She looked up at the ceiling, searching for an answer. The next moment, Shion's shoulders began to tremble. Is she crying? She suddenly broke into a laugh. Shion? What's wrong, Shion? I just thought of something good. Something good? The perfect weapon to take his last breath. A bat. Satoshi's bat. That way, Satoshi can finally be at ease. How perfect would that be? Serves him right. Shion kept on laughing as tears began spilling out. I suddenly began to shiver. You too, Reina? Seriously, that's so perfect. To see that man suffering and struggling on the ground, pleading for help, and then looking down on him from above. This is what I mean by this. I think the two of them are like actual yay murderers, whereas Keiichi is much more like, this is shit, but we need to get it done. Boy howdy, am I ever glad that my flatmate in the room just next to mine is not here at the moment. Because the doors are relatively soundproof, but you can still like sometimes hear things, and I think I'd be quite worried if he heard me go, "They're the yay murder ones." Serves him right. Keiichi, you should be laughing with us. Yeah, that man's death will be a joyous occasion. Come on, Keiichi, laugh with us. Laugh, Keiichi. Laugh. Laugh. Ooh. Insert crazy laughter here. I let out a deep laugh from the bottom of my gut. Despite our current situation, I roared with laughter. Once Teppei is gone, Satoko will be happy again. That thought was so hilarious I couldn't help myself. Just laughing and laughing. A single teardrop escaped me for some reason. Suddenly, a lifeless sound brought me back to reality. I gently wiped my tears away before anyone could notice, then got up and left the room. After opening the door of my room, I was surrounded by the lukewarm air of the house and its distinct smell. It filled me with a cozy, nostalgic sensation. My normal, everyday life in this house, and a single corpse, will both undoubtedly disappear from this world tomorrow. Hello? Hello? Who is this? I could hear someone breathing softly on the other end of the phone. Hello? This is a prank call, I'm hanging up. Hello? The caller hung up without making a sound. I felt a nagging discomfort as I hung up the receiver. Then I turned on my heel and started heading back to my room. Once again, the telephone started ringing. I hesitated for a moment before putting my hand on the receiver. I didn't say anything, and I tried my best to discern the identity of the caller. Chan? Keiichi? My concerns immediately vanished. It was Mion's voice. Mion? Keiichi? Were you the one that called a minute ago? No, I didn't. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. So, did you need something? Did something happen? Keiichi, you're acting a little weird. Is there really nothing going on? Not really. That's good, but about tomorrow, well, tomorrow? Yeah, the festival. Festival, huh? You're acting really strange. You sure you're alright? Still waking up, so my head still isn't on straight. What? You were asleep? I was enjoying a peaceful nap. At least until you woke me up, Mion. Sorry about that. I had to carefully choose my responses one word at a time to avoid making Mion suspicious. So you're coming to the festival tomorrow, right? I'm planning to go, but what? No, I'm definitely going. I promised Reina that I'd go with her. Wow, you and Reina together? I could picture the sorrowful look in Mion's eyes on the other end of the phone. The loneliness of believing that your friends left you out. I knew that feeling. So I tried to find the words to make things right. You're going too, aren't you? Let's meet up once we get there. Right, yeah. Keiichi, I was worried you might be spending the day alone, but if you're with Reina, that'll put my heart at ease. What is that supposed to mean? Sorry, it's nothing. Oh, I have to get going. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Makes me think that Mion's got her own plans. Good night. Mion hung up the phone without waiting for an answer. My stomach twisted as I set down the receiver. If I'm with Reina, I'll put Mion's heart at ease. I was consumed by an inexplicable insecurity as I pondered the meaning of those words. Not wanting to be bogged down by those thoughts, I made my way back up the stairs towards my room, but I stopped myself before reaching the second floor. The door should have been closed, but it was open. The light from my room illuminated the dimly lit hallway, casting two shadows on the wall. But the two shadows quickly disappeared back into the room, as though they sensed my presence. Were they listening to my phone call? They followed behind me and concealed their breathing, so they could keep an eye on me. Why? We'd already come to an agreement to protect each other's secrets. So Reina and Shion were hiding behind the scenes, watching me to make sure I didn't leak any secrets? Could that be what the two of them were doing? Reina, Shion, and I. The three of us shared a firm, intricately intertwined bond. It'll stay with us the rest of our lives. Honestly, poor Mion. Even if it rusts and fades, our bond will last until we die. But somehow, it felt like the two of them were drifting further and further away. When I returned to my room, Reina and Shion welcomed me back as if nothing had happened. Seeing the smile on their faces only made me feel more anxious. That phone call just now, who was it? Who was it? Why would you ask something like that? I was just worried. You got a scary look on your face, Keiichi. It's because you guys were spying on me. Hypocrite. Keiichi, you're not hiding anything from us, are you? I'm not the one keeping secrets. What were the two of you doing, sneaking up behind me? I asked that in exasperation, but Reina just bit her lip and refused to answer. However, Shion stepped forward and pointed a challenging gaze at me. What on earth are you saying? Don't play dumb. You guys were eavesdropping on my phone call earlier, right? Eavesdropping? That's a terrible accusation to make. Don't tell me. Are you suggesting we do something like that? Huh? You're denying it? Keiichi, you're getting cold feet, aren't you? Reina muttered those words, then looked up at me with doubt in her eyes. You didn't betray us, did you? You were telling that person something, Keiichi. Huh? Why would you think that? You were going to trick me. You deceived me all this time, pretending to be my ally, but actually being a hypocrite? Filthy. Filthy. Reina's delusions were taking a leap too far. The rage burning inside her left me stunned. Did you think you could pull it off? Pathetic. You're pathetic, Keiichi. You're a bad boy, Keiichi. You're vile and wicked. You're asking for it. You're asking for Ayasha or Sama to get involved. Her low-pitched laughter sounded like feet scraping along the floor. Reina flashed a death glare in my direction and rose to her feet as I stood there in bewilderment. Then she moved closer to me, closing in on her prey. Who was it? Who were you talking to on the phone? Reina opened her eyes wide, with a bloodthirsty expression. I instinctively turned around to try and escape, but Shion was standing behind me to cut me off. This is what I mean by Keiichi being out of his depth with these two. They are... Shion and Reina are the two, like, I don't like diagnosing fictional characters with mental illness, but Shion and Reina I feel like are the two that come close to being more on the, like, psychopath-sociopath scale. Maybe not, because they both, like, seem to genuinely, like, feel these emotions, but then they also sort of have this, like, other side that just slits straight into violence. They're also the only two, to my knowledge, other than Keiichi, who have definitely killed people. Again, I strongly suspect that in Watanagashi it was actually Shion doing the killing and not Mion. Twins man, forever confusing. Yeah, I'm trying to think, to my knowledge, none of the other kids certainly kill people, and I'm trying to remember the only time, like, Keiichi killed somebody under the grip of Hinamizawa syndrome, which is what these two guys are suffering right now, was in Onikakushi, when he was delirious. I mean, there's a chance that he did it too in Taraimawashi, but I don't think so. Keiichi is definitely, he has the potential for getting syndrome very badly, very quickly, and becoming violent, but not to the same level as these guys. Shion, I think, has, like, the highest confirmed death count in the game. Anyway. Rambling, I say something like that extremely coolly, like it's nothing. It's actually pretty horrifying. I love the spooky ice effects. It's very good. Instinctively turned around to try and escape, but Shion was standing behind me to cut me off. What's with you guys? No way. That phone call earlier. It was from Sis, wasn't it? It was Mion? Why? Why would she call? Please be quiet, Reina. Shion shut Reina down with an intense glare, then approached me. What did you tell my sister? We didn't really talk about anything. She just asked if I was going to the festival. Was that really the only thing? I fiercely nodded my head. I can trust you, can't I? I haven't done anything to be ashamed of. What about you guys? Can I trust you? Our eyes crossed as we tried to evaluate each other's convictions. Reina and Shion lightly nodded their heads. But was that a nod of agreement or a solemn act of resignation? It's not the kind of thing that would tear apart our friendship, right? We need to stand together in our mission to help Satoko. Really thinking this was foreshadowed by the scene 1 instant wedge driven between, like, Mion and Rika to a degree, and then us and Reina. We were shivering from the excitement, tension, and fear of being on the verge of carrying out a murder. That had all of us feeling especially nervous, so we were suspecting each other more than necessary. In the meantime, I decided it would be better to calm down and steady my breathing. Anyway, why now? It's like she knew we were all gathered here. It's Sif's after all, so maybe she noticed something. Aren't you overthinking it? There's no way Mion could know. She's not psychic or anything. But Sis can use far more than just her own 2 eyes. You think she has a 3rd eye hidden under her forehead? Sounds like you've been reading too much manga. She has 4 more than 3. She has at least 100 eyes. Huh? Is Mion some kind of monster? Didn't I tell you before? This is Hinamizawa. In other words, you're not just talking about Mion herself. So we should be wary of the entire village, too? Even after everything is over tomorrow night, I think it would be best for us to stay on our guard for a while longer. Right. Ren has been thinking for a while, but... After finally regaining her composure, Rena timidly interrupted when she saw the look on Shion's face. Do you think we should tell Mion our plan? Do you? Absolutely not. But Mion is really worried about Satoko too. Sorry. Don't you think she would understand? Sis isn't the type to be swayed by personal matters. After all, she's the head of the Sonozaki family. We should assume she's no better than the villagers who resent Satoko. Tell them, Keiichi. No, maybe even worse than them. Please consider her the last person in the world we want learning our plan. If Sis finds out about this, everything will fall apart. As Rin listened to that explanation, her quiet breathing ceased, and she once again began to tense up. And then, she started trembling so intensely that it was tearing into the tatami mats. Reina will never forgive anyone who gets in the way. Never forgive. Never forgive. Never forgive. No matter what happens, we can't let this plan fall apart, even if that means betraying one of my old friends. We all stared each other down, engraving our thoughts into each other's hearts. After a while, Shion picked up the notebook we casually set down. Then, we need to do something about this. We nodded in agreement, then headed to the parlour. There was a huge ashtray on the table, covered in dust. Reina remained expressionless as she tore the notebook apart. Then Shion took the pieces that fell out, cut them into even smaller pieces. I gathered the scraps, then piled them on top of the ashtray, then grabbed a match. A single plume of smoke released as a small, pale flame began to burn. The flame sizzled as they spread, covering the white pages in black. We sat there silently, with our hearts crackling full of burning hot, murderous intent. I held my breath and watched as the flame slowly turned to ash. This was all for our ideal future. That was all we could think about. Once the flames burned out, all that remained was a pile of murky black ashes, almost like the embodiment of the spirit of doubt that none of us could shake off. Shion slowly poured water over the ashtray to extinguish any lasting embers. Good, sensible. A lot of house fires start from, especially from cigarettes, from embers that you think are out, but they aren't actually out, and then they fall on something flammable, and poof. Especially if you have like plastic fabric. I don't know what I'm saying. Don't fall asleep while smoking, lads. That's what I'm saying. The dice have been thrown. Murder is the only option. I returned to my room alone after Reina and Shion went home and tried to get some sleep. The insomnia I'd been suffering for the past few days continued. But starting tomorrow, my nights will no longer be haunted by these depressing thoughts. I clenched my fist. I could feel the sensation of gripping a bat throughout my entire body. With these hands, I'm going to kill him. When I held my hand up to the darkness, it seemed like I caught a glimpse of the future in the dazzling lights coming in through the gaps between my fingers. And so, my entire body tasted a sensation that I had never felt before. Well, folks, It is slightly earlier than I would normally end stream, but to be honest, I am really warm, and I feel like this is such a good cliffhanger that I am going to end stream here. I am going to drop a save so I don't move my place in the game accidentally. I am going to be playing Heaven Will Be Mine this Saturday. It'll be our last playthrough of it. We will be doing the playing through as Saturn, and we will be trying to get the secret ending. I think I've worked out how to do it, so wish me luck. Then on Sunday it'll be Destiny 2, where we will be investigating Guardian games and working through challenges and all that good stuff. Then on Tuesday it'll be Final Fantasy 14. We'll be doing our normal raids, roulettes, and just hanging out, just straight up vibing. And then next Thursday we'll continue our playthrough of Higurashi When They Cry, Tsukiotoshi, where we will see what happens when we put our plan into action. So take care. Thank you very much for watching. It is very much appreciated. Thank you very much for the raid, Sounds Not Straight, and thank you very much for the follows. 200 followers, wahoo! Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening, and do be excellent to each other. I have absolutely forgotten how I end my streams because of how my brain is at the moment. So yeah, take care, have a wonderful evening, and I shall see you guys, if I can avoid knocking stuff over, on Saturday.